Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time. It is Wednesday, and you know what that means. That means we bring on Matt, the mortgage guy. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, Mike. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. This is a topic, frankly, you and I should probably have done before. I'm glad we're doing it today. Full credit to you for bringing it up, so thank you very much.
Sure.
And that is, how should new investors, how should, us as more experienced, how should we think about debt, right? I've been doing this 20 years. I saw how debt can literally crush people, right? There's obviously Dave Ramsey out there who's preaching that, debt is to be avoided at all costs. And then you have someone like myself where debt was the reason we became financially free. And I am probably most of the questions I get on my channel are from folks looking to get started. And too many times I get the question from people that are ready to take out home equity on their home, right? That's their kitty, that's their savings. And they're ready to go to the blackjack table or roulette wheel and just put it all in the middle. And that kind of stuff freaks me out. So as a mortgage guy, mortgage broker, looking at debt all the time, I thought you and I should talk about debt. So where do you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, we could start anywhere because same thing for me is I'm just talking to people day in and day out. So I think I have, a little bit of a feel for where people's mindset is at. And I want to probably warn some of the audience where they're brand new and they're like, oh, if I pull 200,000 here, I can buy this and that and quit my job. I'm going to get this much cash flow. And they're using debt. I mean, irresponsibly is probably the right word for it versus coming from a place of a good foundation. And then you're strategically using debt to, lever up and add more, whatever you want to call it, from a place of if everything doesn't go right, which it usually doesn't, you're going to be okay, right? Yeah. And I thought about this yesterday just because of the dozens of conversations where somebody's brand new and they're like, well, if I pull some money here and I add this second loan here and I do this here, and I'm thinking to myself, like, gosh, that just seems like if everything needs to go right for your deal to work out, I don't like your deal.
Oh, right? Yeah. I'm so glad you said that. I see that a lot, right? I'm an accredited investor, which means not only do I look at residential, which is where I am focused 90% of my time, I still look at commercial stuff. And people bring me deals because I could invest them if I liked them. There are some horrible debt structures out there where I'm like, oh my God, if you don't get 5% rent increase and cap rates stay where they are for 3 years, I don't know how you get out. I mean, right. You're going to have to bring equity to the table. And I don't want to be the LP or limited partner going, you got to cut a 25K check, all of you, for me to hold this deal for it to eventually get better. I'm like, I don't want any piece of that. Right. But that also goes to the residential person, right? A lot of people, dozens of times a week, I will get a comment on some video or maybe on my live stream. Hey, Mike, I'm ready to get in. I loved your one rental at a time book. I want to get started. I'm going to take 100K out of my house and get started. And I'm like, is that the only option? Right. I'm not a big fan of that. Maybe it's how I grew up. I remember being a weekend away from being foreclosed on as a teenager, having to go to Michigan. We would have gone to Michigan. No, I'm not putting debt on my house. Right. Oh, I got 100K. I'm going to go buy 3 rentals in Fresno. Well, okay. But how do you know they're good? People aren't doing the work. They're like, the market's hot. It's only getting hotter. I'm going to throw my 100 grand in the middle of the table and let's see what happens. I'm like, no, don't do that.
Right. And that's the thing too, is debt is a super powerful tool. Without a game plan and used irresponsibly, it can, stop you before you even get started. And I think that's what this conversation is about, is like, you see somebody do it right, where they bought a primary and then 3 or 4 years later, they moved out of that. That becomes their first rental. They got a new primary and then they bought a duplex. And then 4 years later, they bought another house. And now they're having the conversation with their significant other, or they're having the conversation with you or with their mortgage broker and saying, listen, I've got $7,500 in day job income per month. This rental property thing I got going on, it's spitting off $3,500. What can we do? Can we maybe pull 150 here? And that thing's cash flowing $1,400 a month. When I pull the 150, it's still going to cash flow $900 a month. I know what to expect because I've owned it for 7 years. Those are the type of moves where you're using the debt as a tool, and it doesn't have to work out perfect, but so many of the variables you already know, versus somebody who's brand new and is saying, well, I don't have the down payment, but here's the game plan. I'm going to borrow 20,000 on credit cards, and I'm going to do this. And then, these are the same people that are just like, I'm getting out of the rat race. I'm quitting my job. I'm like, you haven't even bought your first freaking property yet.
Yeah.
Like,
what do you, yeah.
Let's talk about that in a decade. Yeah. And I think, what sparked this idea in my head was, starting this book. We got to shout out the book, right? Real Estate Millionaires.
Thank you.
And having real estate be your side hustle. And even if you don't like your day job, fine. It's a good thing in a bunch of ways. And from a mortgage guy's perspective, I love your W-2 job. I love it so much. It makes my job easier. It's gives you access to the best possible financing ever. And so I think that's probably the moral of the story for me is use debt responsibly, have a game plan, make sure that the way that you're trying to build has a few escape routes, has a few, plans for if things don't go perfect and, only 4 out of the 5 or 4 out of the 6 things that I'm thinking will happen, I'll still be okay. Right. Yeah. Because, it just happens too often where you're like, man, that guy, was doing big things. That guy was off to a great start. And that one bad deal he did, he had to sell off everything else just to, get out of that thing.
Yeah. I think I want to call debt a chainsaw. It's a chainsaw. There are lots of things around a chainsaw that if used correctly, it can do amazing things. You run up and try to use a chainsaw without any training, you're going to hurt yourself.
Might cut your head off.
Yeah. Your head off, somebody else's head off. There are right ways and wrong ways to even cut a tree down, right? If you use a chainsaw, even if you use a chainsaw correctly, but you cut the tree down wrong, you're going to hurt yourself, right? So, I see too many people in the beginning want to rush to debt. Debt on debt freaks me out. And again, that's baggage that I carry. I am not the maximum leverage guy. I understand you're not going to outmath me. I get how maximum leverage, zero money in the deal, burst. I understand. I got it. Infinite return. I got it. Why don't we plan for maybe not the best case scenario, right? I've interviewed dozens of people who, for example, were trying to do BRRRR projects, and the spreadsheets look beautiful. They were going to BRRRR 2 properties a year. They've not saved any money. They don't have anything down, but they're going to borrow everything from Rich Aunt Susie. And that's how they're going to do it. First deal works out okay. Second deal, maybe. Third, fourth deal, they try to do it together. Neither one works. And now they owe Aunt Susie 30 grand. And, then they got to sell this to pay that. And don't rush to use debt. Learn, have a buy box, do the work, understand what average is, then do good or great. There are too many people here at the end of the cycle or the top of the cycle or whatever it is, rushing to use debt. Property's gone up 20%. I get it. A lot of us have more net worth today than we've ever had. That doesn't give you permission to use a chainsaw poorly.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's the thing too, is, I don't want to discourage people and have you, not take action because you're overanalyzing it. But on the other side of the coin, I don't want people to get hurt. I want people to do it right. And conversations I'm having day in and day out, there's a ton of people doing it right. And there's a ton of people that, have a day job, and whether this thing cash flows 700 or 200 or breaks even, they're going to be fine. Put in the work so that as much as possible. Know that even doing all that, there's variables you might not, take into consideration that might change things. Like you said, these deals that are set up where everything's got a line and it's perfect. And if the wind blows, the deal falls apart. Don't get into any of that. And the way you do it is by doing the work. I know you preach that a lot. And I think that that's something that's very good, because as a mortgage broker all day, every day, Mike, I talk to people and I can tell people that are just like, I heard real estate's a good idea. Let's do it.
Yeah,
right?
let's go.
And then there's other people where I'm like, damn, I'm learning stuff from this guy. Like this guy's telling me about this and that. He's considered that. And this market usually sees this returns and rents are doing this. And over the last 5 years in this county, they've done that. I'm like, this is the person who's done the work up front and is going to win by just, continually adding to the education and using debt as a tool.
Yeah. And let me close with this. Something hopefully you've seen with my experts. We've done the math. Time in the market is better than timing the market. The thing that I have seen kick people out is debt. They used debt. They got too levered. They had variable rate debt that was getting more expensive, whatever it is. Debt. I've seen debt wipe. I saw debt wipe out somebody who was worth 8 figures, not 7, 8. It was debt. So again, learn how to use it. It is a chainsaw. It can do amazing things, but if you're not ready, debt on debt is scary. Operating a chainsaw when you're drunk's not a good idea.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what I consider debt on debt.
It's great advice. And in my closing advice from a mortgage broker's perspective, talk to a mortgage broker who you like and trust, because just like I've talked about in the past with a hard money lender, if they don't lend you money, it's because like they're scared of the deal. It's a good sign that you should probably be out of the deal as well.
Absolutely.
A good mortgage broker, I'm going to have the conversations with you. We're more than busy enough. I don't need another deal. I'm going to sleep much better at night knowing I told somebody, hey, listen, you could go up to 80% on this property, but maybe not, right? Like maybe this isn't the best thing for you to do. Yeah. And for some people, on the primary residence, I always talk them into buying less, don't go out and buy the max property you can buy. And maybe on investment, I'm saying go to 60% LTV and do this versus 75 or 80, just so you give yourself some more cushion. You preserve more of the cash flow, whatever it is, you can do this and do it conservatively. Most people that have built large net worths with real estate have done it over decades. The stuff you might see on Instagram where somebody got rich in 18 months, it's not how majority of folks did it, right? Play this game for the long term and you're more likely to win. So I think we'll end it there. That's great, Mike.
Yeah. And then lastly, just wrapping it up for me, I would not be where I'm at today without debt. Debt is a good thing. I learned how to use a chainsaw really well. And then lastly about you that I'll wrap this up with is if you are on my channel and you're thinking about getting into real estate or you're doing anything residential, you need to reach out to Matt, the mortgage guy, because he will tell you not now or not yet or not this one. Amazing feedback. And now he is nationwide. No more excuses. Before he only helped California. Now he helps the other 49 states plus California. So reach out. How do you want them to do that?
Go to greatmortgagebroker.com, fill out that lead form. I still get some people here and there like, hey, I filled something out. No one got back to me, went to their spam mail, or they missed a phone call, didn't realize it was coming from Philadelphia. Whatever the case, you fill out a form on greatmortgagebroker.com. Someone's going to get back to you. We're like continually looking to improve this process. I say within 24 hours, it's going to be within an hour. And, we've got systems in place where it's going to be call, email, text. You're going to be, placed with whoever can help you out, depending on where you're at. And I was going to add something else too. Oh, I want to do a quick shout for if you've got mortgage related questions, and in my opinion, it's better than a back and forth on an email or something like that. Every Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I'm going live. Next Monday, I'm going live with a senior underwriter from UWM.
Ooh, nice.
So if you've got questions on conventional loans and how they work and how they calculate student loans and anything to do with underwriting, I was able to get like a senior leader at UWM to join me next Monday. So that one's going to be fun.
Very cool. What time again? 6 o'clock Pacific?
6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And I do it every Monday.
Very cool. Thank you for that. Have a wonderful week.
Thanks, Mike.
Mm-hmm.